Today, we're going to be talking about e-commerce readiness. But first, I want to share something I learned a little while back. A few years ago, I had to come to grips with how critical exercise is for later in life. And I don't mean trying to look good for the beach, but to have that active lifestyle that I wanted to have in the future. And when I started, it really didn't come easy at first. I can remember coming home from a run early on and seeing the concern on my wife's face as I just about passed out on the floor. But it quickly got easier, and I was surprised with how fast and quick results I got. What wasn't expected to me, the learning I had, was how impactful it was for me in the short term. After not long, I had that extra energy to crawl around the floor and wrestle with my daughter after work, when otherwise I might have been too tired. I'm Matt Holling, and I'm from the Cox Automotive Ecommerce team, and I'm here to tell you that it is the same for e-commerce. There are things that you can do to get ready for this heavier e-commerce future. They'll get you ready for the long term, but they can have really positive results in the short term as well. Let's start by talking about where automotive e-commerce is today. Auto e-commerce is in the early stages, but 75% of the two fastest growing car shopper segments said within the next 5 years, they plan to buy entirely online. And you can get ahead of that by laying a foundation based on where things are going. Additionally, the majority of shoppers today are shopping in an online to in-store kind of hybrid. So 71% of shoppers say they'll purchase their next vehicle through this combination of online and in-store. Okay, so if you put those 2 points together, you really start to see that the best way to prepare for an e-commerce future is to do it in a way that benefits this online to in-store reality of today. Online car purchases are daunting, but think about it. What could alleviate customer concerns with buying online? And what I would say is the number one thing is going to be building and developing trust and confidence. It's all about building trust and confidence in what a customer is buying. So think about that as like the condition of the vehicle and who they are buying from. Developing trust and confidence in the dealership that they're purchasing from. This is especially important considering how considered of a purchase this is. I recently bought a product on Amazon. I went from the stimulus or the impulse that I needed this thing to the order confirmation page, and I'm not exaggerating, 60 seconds flat, right? But that is just not the case with automotive purchases. They carry deep meaning and they're highly complex. There are, though, 3 tangible focus areas that are critical for e-commerce, but can provide that benefit even before e-commerce, that benefit of the online to in-store reality of today. First, it's developing robust and transparent vehicle content, a mature dealership review program, and preparing for a data-intensive future. Let's start by talking about building trust through transparent vehicle content. I think we all know that the consumer expectation bar is moving. At first, it was, hey, you need to make sure you have lots of custom photos. And then the next kind of evolution was you need to make sure you have 360s. And then now that's beginning to progress into walkarounds and other types of videos. But to get ready for the future, right, this online future, you have to push it even further. Right? The first thing to be aware of is highlighting imperfections. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. You could call out those blemishes and those imperfections in your 360 carousel. You could do unique photos where you kind of lock in and take a picture just of that, or even have written details. But it's really important to provide this transparency. That's what builds confidence. This providing information on a small documented blemish is actually better for the consumer than the unknown. Put yourself in your consumer shoes. Which vehicle would you rather buy? One with a small scratch that's been detailed in a photo and some words describing it, or a vehicle with no disclosures at all? I know for me, I would absolutely choose the vehicle with the small blemish called out because I know exactly what I'm going to get, and I know that it's not going to bother me. But with the other, I have no idea what to expect. Another thing to focus on here around transparent vehicle content is providing visibility into what you're doing to inspect a given vehicle and the results of that. I think most dealerships have some type of standard process, that 100-point checklist that they do. In that regard, it's really great to have that, but there's no reason to not provide that type of visibility to the customer. Let them know what the standard checklist of those 100 things you're always checking. But it's even better to go further and give them vehicle-specific checklist results. Highlight that engine testing was completed and muffler testing was completed and brake testing was completed. And then you can go even further by giving them visibility into any type of reconditioning that was done. For instance, you just give them the details on what you did to resolve that. Maybe you provided new tires, maybe you replaced the air filter, or maybe you installed new brake pads. All of those different things in that transparency gives confidence to the consumer. It gives confidence in the condition of the vehicle based on all that diligence that you provided. So I challenge you to think, which of those tactics that we talked about regarding sharing information on vehicle condition might be kind of that exercise that we talked about before, right? That it might not be easy at first, but it could lead to short-term results and position you for the long term. The next big opportunity to talk about is developing a robust review program. I think we all know online reviews are just critical in the online and research and purchase process, and they actually influence the choices of 88% of online shoppers. But what does it look like to build a mature review program? I think the first thing to be aware of is that you need to have a proactive feedback loop. You need to solicit requests in the places where consumers already are. Request those reviews on places like Google or Facebook or AutoTrader. And by proactively requesting those reviews, you're going to get a more accurate reflection of the consumer experience instead of only consumers that seek it out on their own that might be more likely to be dissatisfied. The next thing to do is make sure that you're publicly responding to those reviews, that you've built a standard process to comment and respond to any reviews with 3 stars or below. This gives customers the confidence that they know they're going to be taken care of, even if it's one of those unlikely scenarios where things just don't go right. And then the last thing here is, once you've got this great library of reviews, you have to take advantage of it. It's critical to make sure that you're really harnessing that power by incorporating that into your website and in marketing. So you could include that in the homepage on your site, on the vehicle detail page, maybe even build a review hub where you can, where consumers can access all the reviews and really dig in. It's important to understand that when consumers are purchasing from distance, they might not be familiar with your retailer, with your dealership, and the brand that you've built. And when that happens, it's really important that they develop trust in the dealership, just to know that they're going to be taken care of. And quite frankly, that will benefit you in the current state of the online to in-store reality of today as well. And then the last big area that we're going to be talking about is preparing for a data-intensive world. Most successful dealerships have overhauled their operations. They're really viewing each customer as an individual as opposed to a disconnected entity. They're shifting their operations to adopt I would say a unified customer view, and they're doing it driven by three things. One, data hygiene, really clean data. Two, streamlined workflows. And then three, you have to make sure that you really have high quality customer connections. And I think it's important that you recognize that and imagine a future where kind of the integration of all these different solutions and then ultimately data points is a requirement. So establishing that comprehensive and connected view of the consumer, providing this streamlined and personal experience, it's extremely important in automotive in general, but it is extra important when we talk about trying to compete and win an e-commerce sale. E-commerce, may be more on the early stage, but recognize that the fastest growing customer segments are telling us that in the future they plan to buy e-commerce. Kind of like we talked about before, yes, miles run and push-ups done, those are good for the short term and the long term. And remember, it's the same for e-commerce. Dealerships can benefit from the readiness work they do today. It's important to establish trust and transparency. You can do that through your robust vehicle content, a credible review program, and then preparing for the data-intensive future. By prioritizing these different things and recognizing the importance of doing this early, you can position yourself to be the forefront of automotive e-commerce and get some real value in the short term as well.